everybody knows what the other is doing. So what we're in the process of doing is connecting all the dots. We're going to have the prevention intervention, the teen court, the reentry. We're also doing expungement and sealing of records. And all of these are going to be, we have one person coordinate all these things. So if a person comes into this particular program, that's not the right program, they can call and get them hooked up with the right position. The people that I haven't contacted with, I would like for you to meet me after the show is over here so we can connect. We want every organization in this city as a member of that circle. We feel that if we could circle the crime, we could put the crime in the middle, and we got all the resources around it, there's no escape mechanism for it. So anybody that's not a part of it, we want everybody to be a part of it. We got probably about 50% of the people in the city is already connected. I'm trying to connect the other 50%.
Thank you, Jesse. Jesse McGowan is part of the conversation this evening for the next 2 hours on economic opportunity for minorities. It's a special edition of At Issue.
H. Wayne Wilson here, Yvonne Greer here. We welcome you to the program and invite your comments as the program proceeds as well. A 24/7 Wall Street report last October rated Peoria as the worst metro area for Black Americans.
It rated those based upon education levels, wages, unemployment, incarceration rates, and more.
The poverty rates among blacks in Peoria is more than 4 times higher than other non-minorities.
So that's why it's so important for us to have a conversation, not just with these people who are in the TV audience, but with you at home.
We are grateful this evening to have such a diverse representation of Peoria here in the studio audience. We have employers, employees, we have people who provide work, people looking for work, people involved with the city and social service organizations to try and help solve this problem one step at a time.
So you're asking, how can you participate? It's easy for our television audience or our studio audience to participate, but you can through social media. Contact us. We'll make sure that we have your questions and comments on the air as soon as you contact us.
That 24/7 Wall Street report really struck a chord amongst African Americans, really in the community at large here in Peoria. Our 1st District Councilwoman Denise Moore is with us this evening. Thank you for being with us. You represent most of the people who were the big statistics in that particular article. Your thoughts, if you would stand and share them with us. Were you surprised, or were you already aware of those numbers?
I was not surprised. I don't think anybody in this room was surprised. I don't think anybody watching this show was surprised. What was good that came out of it was that it has a big white hot spotlight on it now. It has made a big impression in City Hall. The conversation, the moment it came out last year, we started a conversation. When it came out again this year, that conversation was elevated and we brought in more of the community to be a part of the solution. City Hall does not have the answer by ourselves. We just don't, because if we did, we wouldn't have this problem. So we need your viewers, we need the people in this room to become a partner with us to develop some solutions.
Are there others who would like? Doug, you were going to share with us earlier.
Yes, and that was the topic of crime. I think one thing that really needs to be acknowledged, because these kinds of conversations, especially with someone like me who is not a minority, there needs to be some acknowledgement. These conversations are uncomfortable. I grew up in a small town, about 40 minutes west of Peoria. A little bit different mentality out there, and I think it's really important that people like that understand, because a lot of the things that you hear when you're talking about crime or when you're talking about drug selling and things like that is when you're in extreme levels of poverty. And the argument that you hear is, well, we all have choices. And while that's true, sometimes you're trying to survive. Sometimes the rational economic decision is, what can you do to make money? And we need to have, and I'm not justifying anything, but I think these uncomfortable conversations between minorities and non-minorities needs to happen. And especially when we were just talking about representation, I don't think it's true that we don't know what does work and what doesn't work. I think we have a lot of examples to go off of. And I just think we need people who are brave enough to stand up and do it.
I think your points are really valid, and I think part of the challenge in approaching this subject is, as you mentioned, having those difficult conversations with people who are not walking the same path as you, don't have the same background as you, and may have an entirely different set of experiences than you. But how do we go about reaching that person who may not be thinking rationally, as you said, and it's just about putting food on the table and getting some money right now? If the services are out here, if the community is here saying we are here and we want to help, how does everyone communicate with that person who's in such a desperate situation?
Okay, so I think a lot of the problem has to do with people who have never, ever been properly represented, and they're hopeless, and they don't feel like they're ever going to get help from other people. I know people directly. You know, I mean, I come from a younger generation that when it comes to voting, they've never voted in their lives. And I'm from that generation. I just started getting involved with this just a few years ago. And and I think this applies to all over the country. We've never been represented as a younger generation. We're talking about youth unemployment. We're talking about young people who don't have jobs. Why vote? Nothing ever changes. You know, everybody feels like they're on their own. And now I don't believe that nothing ever changes. I think that if everybody in the city were to vote, we would have Corey Thomas as mayor right now. But it's this feeling of hopelessness. It's a feeling of desperation. It's a feeling of no matter what I do, I can't get ahead. So I'm on my own. And I think a lot of people feel that way.
Sherry Cannon, did you have a comment?
I did. I kind of wanted just to pick up where Doug left off. One of the things that Elite Youth Outreach does and does very well is our reentry program. And we see them younger and younger coming through the program. Helen and I both work with the program, and we're just getting ready to graduate a group of young people. We started, not all of them aren't young, but most of them are, of 32, and we're ending up with 10 because they give up. And they don't know what they don't know. And a lot of them quit school in middle school, and they've done several bits in prison, and it's amazing, even just learning how to write a thank you note. Things that we take for granted, they don't know. So I think one of the biggest challenges we have is that when you send them to prison, their growth stops right there. You talk to some of these young people, and it's like they're 25 years old, and they have the mentality of a 15-year-old. So our prison system is failing our kids. If you're going to arrest them, at least educate them, so when they come out, so you talk about recidivism, they don't have a choice, because he's not going to hire them at Golden Corral if they can't fill out an application. So when we talk about soft skills, and I believe Ron probably understands that, you're taking them all the way back to maybe 8th grade, trying to bring them up to where they can actually interview and get a job. So, I mean, we are looking at a whole generation of young people that have been sent to prison, and it's black young people, because there's 2 million people in prison, 50% are people of color. So we've lost a whole generation of young people that have not been educated, that do not know how to survive other than to do the things that they've done previously. We've had young people come through where their mother and their father have been incarcerated, so they don't know anything else. You only know what you know, and you don't know what you don't know. So I think one of the things that we have to look at is incarceration, and what are we doing? Are we just housing them, or are we actually trying to rehabilitate? We've got to look at that.
Let's go to someone who has spent time in prison. Andre Griffin, if you would stand and share with us, and also your wife, if both of you would stand. And is she on the mark in terms of prison didn't help you?
Well, actually, my first prison bid was in 1996. And at that time, prison still offered schooling. Prison still offered different types of classes that you can take, you know, as far as, you know, getting a trade. But today, the prison system is basically there just to house, okay? If the state can actually get money off of it, that's what we're going to do. We're going to house people. You know, we're not going to educate the people, because they look forward, you know, to you coming back. You know, there's been many of times that I left the prison gates, and one of the yahoos or one of the, funny acting officers, as I call them, will say, "Oh, you'll be back," and they live off of that, because if the prison systems wasn't there, the prisons in Southern Illinois, they wouldn't have work. So they take these things away from us, the minorities, they want to lock everybody up, and a lot of these offenses out here can actually be taken care of through probation and some type of program that they can actually assign those children or those young adults to. And if you don't complete this program, as far as job training, get yourself a job for, an amount of time, then you go do a prison bit. You have a choice there. But a lot of people don't see it that way. We would rather continue to house. So when you do come out, I praise the guys that do have the reentry programs, because they're actually working. But when you do come out and you don't know what you need to do, you're going to do what you used to do.
Carmen?
Well, on a female perspective, I did 11 years in the penitentiary. And when I went there, they were barbecuing and roller skating. That's how far along I stayed. But they did take away schooling. So the education stopped. When I went in, I was doing drugs. And when I came out, I was doing drugs. Because there was nothing else for me to do. I had no mentors, nowhere to go. There was no three-quarter houses. There were nowhere to go. And it's just over and over. I've been in the penitentiary 3 times. And each time I come out, I had nothing else to do but go back to the same community and do the same thing. Now I'm standing here and I'm like in awe, because all these programs, I had no idea. None.
One of those programs is Helping Hand Resource Center. If we could hear a little bit more, you wanted to follow up on this.
I did want to just add on to what my friends here were speaking about. I think there's an attitude with the justice system in general and government. If you ask any politician or anyone in the justice system, what's the purpose of prison? Is it to rehabilitate or is it to punish? They'll always say it's to rehabilitate. I don't see that happening. So what they're doing is they're not rehabilitating and having these men and women come out back to where they started with no support system, and are leaving their job of rehabilitation on us as a community to pick up their slack. So I think there needs to be a change in attitude from the justice system and government in general to actually rehabilitate instead of just punish and warehouse, because we are doing their jobs for them, honestly.
Formerly, I worked for Illinois Central College at the prison for 6 years, and I just wanted to validate what you all just said, because I was in a program that helped inmates get improve their reading and math skills, and also I had a vocational work training program, so they had to have a job and also come to class for discussions. And you're right, because I was there during the period from 1994 to 1999, and there were programs that would train them. We had at least 6 vocational programs. There was electronics, computer science, construction occupation, culinary arts, and the students who went through those programs, the statistics prove that they were much less likely to come back and commit crimes because they went out with a skill. Right. The other thing that you talked about was, are the prisons meant to contain or to punish? And I think in the state of Illinois, in the Constitution, it doesn't say that they have to rehabilitate. It just says they have to contain. In some states, it does say they have to rehabilitate. And so I know that if they had those programs, that it would be less recidivism. Also, we had a program where if inmates were about to be released, like about 6 weeks before release time, there was a program called Pre-Start, and it did teach them some of those soft skills that they needed to know to go out into the community. I had information. I would help them do a resume, help them practice interview skills that would help prepare them when they came out. And I've had a number of guys come up to me on the streets, who went through the program, got released, and would come up and say how it helped them and how they were gainfully employed, married, and raising families. So that's what we need to push for through our legislators, to get that funding back into the schools, into the prison system, because if they do that, they'll pay less on the front end they do on the back end, containing people.
They say an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and in broadcasting there's a term called back timing, which is when the show goes on the air, you should have gone back in the minutes, hours before that and figured out what needed to be done before airtime. So when it comes to all of these young men and women who end up in the prison system, not discounting all of the wonderful work input that you guys have had and the amount of work that yet needs to be done there, we live in a community where upwards of 70% of the kids in District 150 are living below poverty level. How do we address them so they don't end up in prison in the first place? I'm happy to welcome Dr. Sharon Demilan-Karat to our studio audience. Thank you for being here. Would you stand, please, and give us a sense of what you experience dealing with such a high poverty rate in our young people here in Central Illinois?
Right, so it's the wicked problems that I referenced, and I continue to reference, so it's funding and poverty and also trauma. It's just a really vicious cycle, and what we have to continue to do, I'm sort of focused on solutions, and so we have to work with our young people, meet them where they are, and as a district, for example, we're focusing now on, in addition to, we have what we call collective impact, long-term goals, increasing graduation rates, increasing career readiness, increasing college readiness, increasing our students' health and our community health. But we have to do this together. As Mr. Jesse mentioned, a lot of times we're working in isolation and or in silos, and we have this group, Alignment Peoria, that's also working with us so that we can pull resources together and collaborate. I think leadership is also could be a challenge. We have individuals who sometimes they're in positions, but they don't know how to really make an impact, with their responsibility. So you hear we're doing this and we're doing that. I mean, even as a district, as I mentioned, we're the 4th largest employer in Peoria after Caterpillar, OSF, and Unity Point. And you look at our minority numbers, and it's about, we have about 68% Caucasian and about 28% blacks. But and then we also have lots of money that we've just passed the county sales. I mean, our residents in Peoria County passed the county sales facility tax. So we have big money to play around with. I mean, to work with, $50 million, and we have work. And we have, for example, specs, and when it comes to the bidding specification in terms of percentage of minorities that should be hired. Peoria it's made up of 40% minority, but it's hard. They say, okay, when you look at the numbers, how many minority individuals were hired in contracting, construction, and those sorts of things. It's very difficult. So what we have to do is work with our kids. For Peoria Public Schools, it is for some of our individuals. You've heard about the trauma and you've heard about the poverty. So it makes the job a lot more challenging, but not difficult. So a lot more support is needed to work with our kids and to help them. There's this ratio, and I'll be quick. I know what H said, be quick, but this ratio that's recent from Harvard, 1 to 2 to 7. For every one job that requires a master's degree or more, there are 2 jobs that requires a bachelor's, but there's 7 jobs that require either an associate's degree or skilled, industry skilled. So these are the growing areas, fire science and police officers and auto body and construction. So we're moving in that direction, and I'm very excited about that. Plus, we have to grow our own, and that's what I'm really excited about. We have about 35 teaching jobs right now that's been opened all year. And so the idea is, why we have the kids, we have the buildings, why not grow our own and put them in these pre-apprenticeships, these apprenticeships, give them those opportunities. We can do that, grow our own. It's a little bit more expensive, it's a little bit more intense, it cannot be batched. Right now, the way the system is designed, it's all traditional, and it's like a factory-like. In order to have success and minimize what Judge said, it has to be customized, and that's the direction we're heading. I'm really excited about that. And you probably heard about competency-based, where kids don't necessarily have to sit in classrooms and learn. They can you can push them out and send them to businesses, and they can acquire all the soft skills. So there are really a lot of exciting things happening for our kids, and I'm really excited about that.
Thank you.
And that's just the syllabus of what's happening in Peoria Public Schools. There's a lot more that she'd like to talk about. But let's go to the Black Chamber of Commerce, the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. Lord Mike Williams is here. He is the Marketing and Communications Director for the Black Chamber.
I am. I came tonight to share some great stimulating conversation with everybody, and what I've heard thus far that really impacted me the most tonight was the litany of different issues that we have as minorities, particularly as the black community, with justice reform. How do we educate? How do we really build and reinforce the soft and hard skills and so forth? And, from my perspective of what we do at the Chamber, it gives me a special purview to be able to see a real landscape of the opportunities that are out there. And although justice reform is tremendously important, it takes a team of aggressive and like-minded people to really address all these different areas, because it is truly a litany of different pieces. But we all can't do everything. And from the Chamber perspective, I think it's opportunity, because Doug said, how do we really get these kids, how do we really speak to them in a comprehensive way to really, share with them that there is hope? And to me, that's what opportunity, real world, real time opportunity. How do we really take them from A to Z, from the soft skills, the hard skills, all the different pieces, integrate them together, create a real comprehensive plan where we all work together and really put that net out there for those children there. So it truly does take a village. So I just wanted to say that real quick.
Thank you very much. Shama St. Louis, did you have a comment to that?
Yes. I think part of the problem is until we create sustainable businesses in the Black community, we're going to have all of these problems. They're going to keep coming back. So if you look at other communities that are thriving, one of the things that you see is vibrant businesses that are up and moving and going. They can hire the people in those communities. I think another thing that we should probably look towards doing is starting building entrepreneurship, or building kid entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs at earlier ages, or introducing kids into entrepreneurship. I think everybody's not built to be a CEO of a company. Everybody's not built to be an entrepreneur. But there are a lot of kids who would love to have their own business. And I think if you start them young, then they grow up and they stay in their communities and they have all of these great ideas and they're implementing those ideas in their communities. One of the things that I do with my kids, I have a 10 and an 8-year-old, and they have 2 businesses and they have to work those businesses. So, in addition to doing everything else that they do, they're trying to figure out, okay, how much material do I need? How much do I need to spend? How much do I need to sell? And so it's putting a different type of critical thinking skills. So as they grow up, they're thinking, okay, how can I, contribute to my community? Where is there a problem that I can offer a solution to? And I think if we took that approach more often, if entrepreneurship was taught in schools maybe, then, that would also be a big help.
We want to remind the audience out there that you can participate with an email or with you can Twitter with hashtag WTVPAI. That stands for at issue, but hashtag WTVPAI. And at issue WTVP.org for those of you who want to email us. We are encouraging that, but meanwhile, we want to encourage the conversation. And I wanted to go back over, you've been waiting patiently, I know.
I'm just curious, with all the different, with Helping Hands and with the re-entry, we have major employers here. And are they at the table offering jobs and training and the support? Because we can train them, we can get them ready, but if the opportunity isn't there, where is the progress? So I'm just curious to hear some feedback from the business owners and those people who are hiring. Are you at the table looking at these individuals and giving them a fair chance to a fresh start?
We have business owners here.
Well, obviously, I employ several African Americans, a lot of African Americans at Golden Corral. And one of the big issues is when people come in to apply for work at our establishment is a huge lack of just life skill. And I think that's probably the single biggest problem that I see when, filling out an application or evaluating how are they going to help our company. So the vocational training is definitely in need. It's a huge lack of in society. And like we have this poverty level at District 150. Another area that I've been focused on and have been researching is the single mother. I think that's just a huge problem in this city. So I think that's another area that we totally need to focus on.
Bill Capeless owns Gio's Pizza. He has 225 in downtown Peoria and also Golden Corral. We thank you for participating. We have other, Steve, where are you? Oh, there you are, Steve, sorry. Steve is another business owner.
Yeah, so I'm not positive the perspective that I should offer on it, but I'll say this. I'll start with the state. Illinois is a very difficult place to do business. And it's difficult because there's tons of regulation, even in a pretty simple business like I have. And it's not just the state, it's the federal government. And as a result of that, the opportunity for growth here is not so good. So my business has been about the same size for about 7 or 8 years. I've owned it for 24 years, and the last 7 or 8 have been extremely difficult. Having said that, we always have the need for skilled installation labor. And so we do everything from roofing to siding to windows to sunrooms to kitchens to bathrooms, all those kind of things. And in general, those folks are hard to find today, and I'm not sure why exactly. We certainly are willing to train on the job and to get somebody up to speed to do that. I would love to have a program in conjunction with area high schools for kids that do not believe they're going to go on to college to start having them work for us in the summertime and become skilled at what we do. Those jobs, probably low side pay about $40,000 a year, and high side maybe $70,000 or $75,000 a year. They're good jobs. We provide benefits. Everybody that works with our group is an employee, so you got participation in health insurance and 401k, unemployment if the weather gets too bad to work in the wintertime. So we do have need for people, and it's more and more difficult each year to fill that need. So opportunity exists.
Thank you, Steve Jackson. So let's try to put some of these pieces together. $40K plus a year is nothing to sneeze at and is a long way away from the numbers that were cited in that 24/7 Wall Street article that said Peoria was the worst city in America for Black Americans. So if 74% of our kids right now, forgive me because I may not have that exactly right, it's over 70% of District 150 kids are living below poverty. If by the time they go by the wayside, if you will, and fall to negative activities and end up in prison and are not further educated there, and then they come back out into the communities and they don't have the skills that they need, where do we put our finger on the leak? How do we reach them before they've gotten to that point? And forgive me, I don't want to overuse you guys, but you've been so great about sharing your experience having been incarcerated. What could your family, your teachers, your community, your church leaders, what could any of those folks have said or done to you or for you so that you didn't go the path that you went? Carmen?
Well, when I did come out, I had a mentor. I had a woman that cuffed me, that showed me, like I went to school. Mr. Cannon was at the school. The community, like I said, it takes a community, to raise. So I had somebody to tell me step by step, because I didn't know. All I knew was how to do the wrong thing.
But how did you get to that point?
How do I got to that point? I wanted it.
All right.
I wanted it.
And what was it about the lifestyle you led that you wanted so badly that you weren't getting at home? What was home life for you?
I didn't want to die. I didn't want to be a dope dealer anymore. I didn't want to prostitute anymore. I wanted to stop what I was doing. And I'm sitting here thinking, we could do all this, but they have to want to stop. And even though it's quick money and quick fast, but if I see this young lady that went through exactly what I want, what she got, they have to want what we have. We can offer it all they want, but they have to want it. And in order to want it, they have to get tired. And if it make weed legal, I don't understand that. That is a drug. I mean, it's just too easy. It's just too easy. So there's a program called the drug court. They don't play. If you get out there and you mess up, you go. Like my husband said, you got a consequence to pay. There's no consequences. I mean, even though you go to prison, but who wants to go to prison for a bag of weed? Give them probation, something to do, something constructive, something to keep their interest. Because if it's boring or it's not interesting, they fall off. And it has to be constant participation. PH I go to, we talk about anything. Your household is driving you crazy. Your mom are doing this. You're around people that are going through exactly the same thing you're going through. Because, like, you're beautiful. But if you come in my neighborhood, we're just not going to relate. I mean, it's just not. So we need people like
And I'm going to pause you there and say maybe we would, because I probably lived in your neighborhood.
He's been in jail for 10 years. He would relate to one of them young men that been out there and have been back and forth. So, like, a person like you or the superintendent, like, catch them young. But those that's out there 16, 18, 21, 22, they need to see that this does work. Because you can say it does, but what you went through, that's the first thing, but what you used to do. So you have to give them something to hold on to.
And you said you have to want it, and that brings up to me a mental, emotional aspect to this issue that we haven't yet explored. What types of things can we do in the hearts and minds of our young people to instill their desire to get that education, to get a great job, to want to go on and be providers for their own families? Rita Ali, yes.
I think we have to give them opportunity. I'm of the opinion that these young people want to be successful in their lives, and that we need to give them the opportunities to be successful. And Lorraine Bryson knows, you know, back in the 70s and the 80s, we had lots of money for summer youth employment. We had education work programs where they were going to school half a day and they were working half a day. And that kept them busy. It kept them out of trouble. It kept them out of the streets. And it actually improved their academic ability to be successful, because they were, you know, they had year-round learning. They had year-round school because they went to school, you know, 9 months during the school year, and then they went to school during the summer, and then they worked. They got hands-on experience. That state money dried up. That federal money dried up. Now it's not coming back. The only thing that we can do, we have what we need in this community to make it work again, but we have to have the commitment from the employers, and we have to have a collaborated effort, you know, to tie all these resources together to make it work for these young people, because black teen unemployment is off the roof. Yes, it's off the charts. It's off the charts. And it's going to take a village, Bernice, to really pull it together. We all have to work together for these young people and to address the root cause issues. There's systemic barriers, and we have to address them systemically.
We have several people that have their hands up. We want to get to them all. So Brent Baker is with the Economic Development Council in Peoria.
So to Dr. Ali's point is a fantastic segue, so thank you. So for the last year and a half, we've been coordinating an initiative called Peoria Pathways to Prosperity that's hosted at the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, actually funded by the Teachers Union out of their national office through Washington, D.C. And it's really a collective impact model that engages about 9 organizations, including Peoria Public Schools, Illinois Central College, the local Teachers Union, and a number of employer organizations, including the EDC and the Chamber. And it's really focused on career development for Peoria Public Schools students. So we actually have a number of students, 21 active internships right now at 11 unique employers that are touching about 10 different industries. So that was just over this last year. We've really been able to get a foothold with some of these organizations. And actually, at OSF, we have 2 interns right now in their sterile processing department. And those are students that are actually under the age of 18. It was a huge lift for the HR department of OSF, but we challenged them to do it, and they stepped up, and they're actually scaling up those internships they're offering, looking to break into their business side, so actually working to plug in students to accounting careers, but also scaling up within their sterile processing department. And we also have Unity Point on board. So we're seeing the employers start to understand that it's not only a social good, but it's also a strategic workforce development strategy for their organization to say, we have talent in our public schools, and it's incredible untapped potential. So how do we start engaging with those students at the junior and senior levels so they understand that there's next steps and there's opportunity for them here? So that's kind of the work that we've been started, and we hope to continue that going forward. So
awesome initiative. Thank you. Yes, Andre.
Once again, we're speaking on the youth as far as the schooling and whatnot. You know, it all has to change in-house, okay? It starts with the mom, it starts with the dad. You know, we as parents, we need to pay closer attention to our children. You know, when I was growing up, you know, I'm a high school graduate, you know, I made some bad turns, but yet and still, my mom and dad, they stayed on me about education, okay? If we don't have it inside the home, those kids are gonna go to school, they're gonna run up and down the hallway, they're gonna, you know, world star in the classroom when there's a fight or whatnot, and we need to change inside the homes, okay? And if we can reach the parents as far as the drug addictions, the drinking, the, you know, wanting to go out and partying and not paying attention to their children, if we can change and just help the families be mothers and fathers, we can bring our youth out of that shadow of being back into prison or going to prison, okay? And me, myself, I just became the hiring manager at my job. It's a small company. And being that I have the Boys to Men's program, we're actually going to start taking this summer guys that are 18 years old and 21 years old, and we're going to start training them as far as advertising. Okay, we're going to, you know, start training them how to actually put an ad copy together, how to have it printed, how to lay it out, the whole nine. And I think if we had more people that was business owners that was willing to reach into the black community and actually, you know, help, we can make a difference. And as far as you, I'll be putting in the application tomorrow. No, I know it all. Anyway, but just making light of it. But it's our responsibility, you know, not only as black men and women are, you know, other races, it's our responsibility to make our communities and our world a better place, okay?
Did you have something you wanted to add to that? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk, we've talked a lot about programs, but I wanted to talk a little bit about policy. It's like, what policies are in place that are at a local, state, and federal level that are barriers to employment for black and brown young men and women to get jobs. It's like, I know we have OSF is in the room, and I'm like, even from an employer standpoint, are there policies that are in place that when I come and apply for a job, that I'm not able to get that job because of a policy that you may have in place? Are there also policies in place that now you want to go to ICC to go ahead and take a HVAC class, but you can't get financial aid because there's a policy in place that's stopping you from getting financial aid? I think we need to also take a look at what do we need to do to eliminate those policies that are barriers to employment.
The direct question was to OSF. Dr. Mike Cruz is here. He is the president of OSF St. Francis Medical Center.
Correct. And I don't own OSF or St. Francis Medical Center. Otherwise, I'll be going to Steve Jackson for work. A couple of comments. I know very little to nothing about the law enforcement, the legal branch, and other entities that have been spoken about, but I can speak to the economic impact and the development and the opportunities. So first and foremost about the policy, HIPAA, the Portability Act, is a definite impact to our abilities, mostly because the records and the access to records are electronic. So from that standpoint, the Privacy Acts make it very difficult from an HR standpoint. They're actually getting better than they used to be. So in the 80s and 90s, we were allowed to have young teens in hospitals. And they went through a period of time where that's been restricted. And the reason is because of the privacy and confidentiality of the medical record, patients' names, and those are everywhere now. It's not just on a record, it's electronic, and you see those devices. So we have to be really picky in some of the challenges we're having for really young, so think 8th graders or 12, 13 through 15 and 16-year-olds, is putting them in the OR, in the emergency department, in the trauma bay, an obstetrics unit, and even transporting somebody. They're transporting a patient, so they're exposed to somebody who might be a neighbor. And so all that is HR going back to policies that make things really challenging. So working closely with the Peoria Works program, which is one, but there's alignment, there's STEM. I'm a tactics and strategy kind of guy, so these kind of initiatives I think are great and a great opportunity. So these two young women Brad had mentioned earlier haven't graduated, but one's going to go to ICC and wants to work in a hospital and likely a sterile processing department in a healthcare center. She had no idea what a hospital is like, what a sterile processing department is in a hospital that does tens of thousands of surgeries a year and the complexity of that work. And the other woman has been accepted into a pre-medical program at U of I in Chicago, and she wants to be a physician and get into the U of I med school program in Chicago with the intent of coming back. So here are two young women that we would have never had that opportunity to engage them with. So it's very sensitive because, yes, can they cut the grass outside of OSF? Yeah, but they can cut grass. Anybody can cut grass, right? You can come to my house and cut the grass. My point is they need to have an opportunity to understand that healthcare, whether it's UniPoint or OSF, is that a feasible and a likely place to end up in doing your work, whatever that might be. We should also recognize that the gap is getting wider. The competencies required. For instance, when I started, LPNs and RNs were the primary nurse driver. And in 2020, 80% of the nursing workforce has to have a BSN. That instantly raised up the ante, which means high school, undergraduate, with a degree, and the RN certification is not enough. And it's a rare LPN that you can find in a tertiary care hospital now. So that gap, so that means there's some urgency to the work that needs to be done. And I think the programs such as EDC and GPEDC have, in working with PPS and Joyce, and working with JUMP and simulation, with programs with high school students. So it doesn't address recidivism, doesn't answer the prison and the training and education around there. So I can't answer to that. But I can answer to the opportunities I think that the youth have today, and that we have these programs. We should be attempting to feed, spread, and scale that. Because this is two women's story, we need hundreds.
We have several hands up. Let's get to them real quickly. There's an urgent hand here, both of them. First, I'd like to go to the superintendent of Peoria Public Schools, then to Lorraine Bryson, who is with the Tri-County Peoria Urban League.
So when I came back to Peoria, I met with Brent and I saw those numbers, and I think at the time there were 4 kids. I said, Brent, we need more. And so we are 21 kids in internships, and I can guarantee you that in the next year, this number will be tripled. What we're doing with our young people, we're sort of actually re-imaging some things. And so starting in middle school, we are working with them so that we can help them to identify their passion. So by the time they get to high school, they'll have an idea of if they're in a college track or if they're in a career track. And we were at Jen's event today, the career forecast, and we just learned there are going to be 1,800 jobs for nurses, right? And tons of for this coming year. And we have a lot of kids who are interested in health for example. So we're pushing kids in that area, and we're doing a lot more of the career pathways. Woodruff will be booming next year. We've actually tripled those numbers. About 400 kids will be going through these career pathway programs. So I'm really excited about that. And Dr. Ali, you mentioned providing opportunities for them. I was at Peoria High today. They had their fine arts festival. Over 500 kids were performing, and it was amazing. They were well behaved. They were performing, and I just said, just put them in an environment where the expectation, there was no drama. Kids were performing very beautifully, and that's the direction we're moving in.
Lorraine.
I think that two words come to mind when we try to do programs at the Urban League, and we serve people from all parts of the spectrum of life. And those two words are intervention and prevention. So it doesn't matter whether you're talking about career opportunities at OSF. If you intervene in a young person's life early enough, the earlier you intervene and stay engaged, the better your opportunities for success. So those two people that you're working with, that's an intervention. That's at an early age. They're exposed to opportunities. You can dream when you're exposed to different possibilities. And the sooner you provide that exposure, the better your chances of success for that young person. And even though you say you don't know a lot about prevention and incarceration, you're preventing that incarceration by intervening at an early age. The other piece is prevention, and we try to provide programs that provide prevention so that they don't get to Judge McDade's level. So if you prevent certain behaviors that they haven't learned at home, provided those life skills, provide exposure to the appropriate education, when they make those decisions and we're not with them, they'll make a good choice because they've been exposed to all of the information. And I think that it's a matter of priorities. Our community has been very good to some people, but it hasn't been focused on others. And we have to focus on all people. We have to provide those opportunities. The summer job program, we intervened in 700 kids' lives back in the 70s when I started working, and I know I'm aging myself, but when I started working in the summer jobs program, we had 700 kids that we provided a summer job. Half a day they went to school, half a day they were in OSF or another nonprofit being exposed to job training. I got my first experience through the Urban League Summer Job Program at the age of 14, and I was placed in a Head Start facility. So guess what my first career was? I was a teacher from that exposure at 14. So we can do it, but those resources have gone away. The last summer job program we had, we didn't place 700 kids, we placed 20. And in this day and age, that's a drop in the bucket. We have ex-offender programs where we work with people 180 days out of incarceration. That's giving them a second chance. That's an intervention later in life, but if you do it sooner, then you prevent them from maybe seeing Judge McDade one day.
Thank you. Shama, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Actually, Lorraine pretty much said what I was going to say, and I think she probably did a better job at it than I was going to do. But I was going to bring up how important exposure is, because I was sent to private boarding academy, and I say this all the time, and I did not want to go. I was like, this is jail. This is the worst thing you could ever. My parents hate me, and my first year there, I was extremely stubborn. I didn't want to participate in anything. I didn't do anything. I just wanted out. But as I, was forced to stay there, I realized it was really one of the best things that could have happened to me, because I got exposure that I don't think that I would have gotten at home. I got exposure to different types of people, different types of culture. I got to travel in the entire country almost, and I started to see that there were other things outside of my direct, immediate box that I was in at home. And I think there aren't a lot of kids who have the opportunity to go to private boarding academy. So we have to, as a community, bring the opportunities and the exposure to them. Also, too, I think it's important that we have people in our community who are successful, who look like us. I don't see that a whole lot. I don't see it where, one, they look like us, and two, they were born and raised in that community, and then they went and got successes and decided to stay in that community. Usually, you're born and raised in a community, and the first thing you want to do is get out, get out, get out. And so I think if, we are able to see more successful Black entrepreneurs and, even if they're not entrepreneurs, just in high positions in the city, then kids can see something that, they can aspire to and they'll want to do better. There was another point that I wanted to make as it related to jobs, but I don't remember. So.
That's all right. We've got another hour and 10 minutes. We'll come back to you. Let me make one. You were talking about people looking like you. There's some good news. It's a slow process, but 2 of the 3 people who were elected to the ICC board are African American. Yes. Denise Moore was reelected to the city council. Eric Turner is on the city council. And if the final vote stays the same, we'll have Rita Ali on the city council. There's 3 people on the city council. Let's go to Wayne Cannon, who's with Commonplace.
Just to talk a little bit about we talked about the ex-offenders and that is a problem. But, there's also the underemployment of African Americans. There's a whole dearth of management that we talk about improving household, improving families. But in order for us to solve some of these problems, we need folks to start moving up. We need to start having income spread out so we can support entrepreneurship. I think as we talk about soft skills, lack of soft skills is not unique to the African American community. Lack of soft skills is just really maybe an excuse not to hire this person, but yet still you will hire this other person.
That's right.
I think the key, we talked about some of the major employers, opportunity, and you cannot get past that. We could prepare our young folks as well as we can, but if they go into an institution or an organization, whether it's a large business or a small business, and they don't have a fair shot, if they don't even know opportunities exist, then that's just, walking in there with one hand tied behind our back. But I do want to say this. There was so many great points brought out in this forum, all these great ideas. But we really need, it comes right down to, some of these things are just a natural procession. But what's not natural about what's going on, especially in Peoria, is opportunity. It really stops right there. I look around this forum, on this side of the room, and I see cameramen, and I don't see any people of color. And not to talk about you, Wayne, because you guys are doing a great job, but I go to other organizations, and you walk in, and you don't see no people of color, from the receptionist all the way up to the top, whether it's a small business. So that goes back to, like I say, we need these forums. Everybody's throwing out some great ideas, but we can do the job. And I don't want to get caught up. We're not all criminals, not to talk about ex-offenders, but we're not just here to talk about ex-offenders and their plight. We're talking about a young person who comes out of District 150, who does what they need to do, might not want to go to college, but hey, I want to get me a good job at St. Francis Hospital and work my way up. Well, he doesn't have anybody in management. He doesn't have anybody that can pull his application, so it makes it a little bit difficult. So he has 2 or 3 steps he needs to jump. But that's just my thoughts.
Wayne, you're right. The camera operators, there are no African Americans behind the cameras, but I do want to point out that my co-host is an African American. Okay? Just in case you hadn't noticed.
And
I'll let you take it from there.
And I will also add to that, I didn't want to inject my own personal experiences into this discussion, but I've been there. I grew up in Detroit. My father went to prison before I was 3 years old. A lot of members of my family either used drugs or sold drugs. So I understand full well the implications of the conversation that we're having this evening. I also understand and can imagine in my mind some of the folks at home saying, but what about, what about? And some of the what abouts that happened in my own life were when my teacher said, hey, here's an opportunity and I can provide it. My family did not want to be embarrassed or disgraced or look like we didn't have enough to provide that opportunity themselves for me. And so the answer was no. And so when it came time for me to have an internship so I could come to Peoria and work at Channel 31, my mom said, when are you going to turn them down? Because they said you're going to need a car and you're going to need to get some nice clothes because you're going to be on TV and we want you to move to Peoria. So there's another step there as well that says we have to step forward. We have to take advantage of the opportunity when it comes knocking. And to everyone here who said we need help, I think we need to define exactly what kind of help we need and then provide it, not only in terms of what we have to offer, but in terms of how people need to receive it.
And one other thing, and we've got a lot of hands up that we want to get to, but one other thing is that applications that come into this television station are woefully deficient in minorities. If we don't get the applications, how do we get the message out? And there are a lot of ways, there are a lot of answers, and who can answer that question directly? Let's first hear, then to Ron, then to Ron, then to Jesse, and then to Lord Mike.
Hey, a couple of things. I worked for IDOT for 12 years, and there was a disparity with hiring minorities. Secretary Martin at the time said we can no longer, there was a federal case with the department because we are utilizing federal dollars and we needed to meet those benchmarks. So I was a part of a recruitment team who went out and sought after highway maintainers, civil engineers, any African-American skilled technical managers. What I found that we had to do in getting the highway maintainer ready is to get them ready for the test, get them ready for the application process, and then most of all, getting them through our interview process, which is a very structured process. We could not give them the actual interview questions, but I and a team of people created simulated meetings. And so we would host this at Goodwill Industries. And we would get a pool, and you had to be a veteran preference, CDL, NNX endorsements. But we took about 7 years from 2006 to about 13, and we went to work reaching out to every community seeking this isolated group. And it was a lot of work, but the benefits of that paid off over a period of time. What I also wanted to say through our church, and I do it personally, and I encourage any other professional person too, I mentor young girls, and I've lived in Peoria for 23 years. I'm from Kansas City. And I had opportunities. I remember I graduated high school in 1983. I was a part of an En-ROADS program for academically smart people. I guess I don't know what that was. But I remember getting an internship my sophomore year in high school. Between high school, Kansas University, I had about 5 quality internships. I worked for Black & Veatch, Waldell Reed, Fidelity Security Life. It gave me a chance to have this exposure, use my talents, build a resume, so that when I did finish school, I was a qualified applicant. And so I think in terms of our churches, I try and implement that, because just like there are so many single-parent homes, we deal with that in the ministry, and that means economically limited because there's just a single income. We have to invest ourselves, and we have to reach back, and we have to give back. And that means utilizing our resource, our time. It takes a lot of time to mentor a single woman with 5 kids. And but sometimes I've opened up my home. My house is a safe house for Peoria High athletes and students. I have 3 sons, and as much money as I've spent at Costco and Sam's feeding other people's children, I don't mind, it's a sacrifice because I see the long-term benefit. And I think we have to become sensitive to other people and not be so selfish with our time and our talent and our homes. I grew up, our community, we just had families that were family, and we linked circles, and everybody helped wherever this other family did not have. And we don't have that mindset anymore. People are so segregated that we are selfish, and we want to get ours, and you figure out how you can get yours.
And we do want to go to Ron and to Jesse and to Lord Mike, but you talked about labor. You talked about being out and experiencing highway work, et cetera. We have Mike Matika here. Mike is from Bloomington. He is with the Labor Council over there. Could you share, follow up on her comments, please?
Yeah, and I think, something I think you would really appreciate right here in Peoria at Illinois Central Community College is the Highway Craft Construction Training Program. And it is specifically oriented toward, I teach in the class every session. I'm always impressed with the young people there. Some are ex-offenders. Some are folks who just never had that opportunity. They get a 10-hour OSHA card. They get some remedial math. They get a little hands-on experience in the construction trades. And most importantly, they have to show up every day on time. Because if you miss 3 days and you're not there on time, you're out of the program. So it builds those soft skills too, and then every construction trade, every union comes in and says, here's what you have to do to become an apprentice. So in a sense, the door is cracked, and having, in a sense, that opportunity is excellent. And as a laborer and as a member of the laborers union, I know when I walk into my union hall, there are ex-offenders. We don't ask. If you're willing to come to work and you're willing to show up every day, unless you're going to work at a school or someplace where the employer has to check you. But if you're willing to work, we'll give you a chance. And I think part of the old mythology was you had to have an uncle or a dad in the trade to get in a trade. But now the trades, I think, are very, very eager to get and to show that diversity. And part of it is, and I'll give credit to the program she referred to, we have to meet federal quotas with federal money, which means there has to be diversity, male, female, different backgrounds in that workforce. So it behooves us to recruit people. And again, not everyone wants to be out on the highway in a 100-degree Central Illinois day raking hot asphalt at 400 degrees. All right? But if you're willing to do it, there is a job there that pays more than $26 an hour with full health care and with a pension. And so the opportunity is there, and I think we need to work to be more open, but I think there are programs out there we're really trying to work with to make sure those opportunities are there.
Thank you very much, Mike. We should probably take a moment and address the folks at home again by saying we are here at WTVP having an at-issue town hall meeting on economic opportunities for minorities here in the Peoria area in light of that Wall Street or 24/7 Wall Street report that cited Peoria being the worst city in the nation for African Americans. We are gathered here as employers, as employees, as members of faith-based organizations, as members of corporations, as civic-minded community members, trying to come to terms with the issues in front of us and find ways to solve the problems. Did you have something else that you wanted to add to Mike's comments?
A little over a year ago, we had a consulting firm come into Peoria and called the National Resource Network, who pretty much clobbered us over the head by telling us how do we bring economic opportunities into the South End. And their response was that our social issues in the South End need to be addressed, transportation issues need to be addressed, job training needs to be addressed. But let's dream for a minute. If we were to dream and OSF puts a small clinic in the South End, and this young man decides to open a Golden Corral, or he decides to open up a franchise builders in our South End area, do we have the ability where he can hire from our community? And the question that comes is, are we properly preparing our residents in our community to be trained for livable wages? That's where we lack at a great deal of. When we're able to bring businesses in, we want businesses to come in the South End. There should be no reason why we have don't have small malls in our south end where people can shop. There should be no reason why we have 5 miles to walk to get to the local grocery store. There should be an opportunity where our people are trained, given opportunities to learn regarding nursing, regarding hospitality, regarding construction building, but we have to train them and give them opportunities within our community first before we bring a business in. Otherwise, they're going to hire outside of our business, outside of our communities, that the opportunities have to be there.
Ron Valley is with Helping Hand Resource Center on the south side of Peoria, and he helps ex-inmates not only with soft skills, but actually find work. The Civic Center is still your largest connection?
Correct. You had asked me to bring some clients, but most of them are working today. So.
Some good news for us.
Yes.
Jesse McGowan, you've been waiting patiently.
Yes, I was going to touch on a couple of things here. But one thing I agree with this lady told me, they have to want it. Because that's the only way I got out of penitentiary, wanting it. Second thing about those jobs, we have 30 employers on board. As Akbar Bryce has famously said, we have a shortage of job ready applicants. And that's one of our biggest problems. The second thing is, we have, Terry Burnside and I, we have called a street committee. We just forming it within the Restorative Justice Initiative. We have guys, street guys, as she stated, she brought in 32 people, only 10 graduated. What happened to the other 22? And every program here has a shortage. District 1, the school district, 50% of the young black men don't graduate. What happened to the other? What happens to the 50% that don't graduate? That's what the street committee is going to be. It's made up of people that's willing, that's going to, not willing to, but it's going to go out into the streets. We're asking everybody to come into your program. Like I've talked to Ron about this. Have them sign up, give me 2 references with names and addresses. In case that person disappears, I will go to that person's house. I don't care if I have to go to Lexington Hills at 12 o'clock on a Saturday night. The street committee will go there. And we're going to find out where is that person now? Why is that person not here? Then we're going to take them back to the intervention department, as the lady was talking about. That's very important, prevention and intervention. We want to know what's happening to the people that's falling through the cracks. Those are the ones that's committing the crimes. It's not the one that's graduating the programs. Over half the people don't graduate the programs. They're back out there to the street that nobody knows where they are. The street committee will track them down. We will go out there where they are anytime, day or night. So if you have a program and people are dropping out, get me the contact information. We will find out what those people are, and we'll get back to you with that information.
69% are graduating in 4 years. So it's higher for 5 years.
The young black male?
Don't say 50.
Not about the young black male from the grade school on. That's what I'm
That was a statistic. Dr. Karat, the proper number is what?
69% integration.
In 4 years.
Yes.
And let me add that another patient person here is Lord Mike Williams of the Black Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah. Hey, again, opportunity is what it's all about, and I came here for a great conversation. I'm hearing some fantastic things from everybody. And shout out to Bernice Gordon Young again, because it does take a village. Mr. McGowan, I would be overly ambitious, and I'm quite ambitious sometimes. I would be overly ambitious to even think that I could perform some of the things that you just laid out there. But if we don't have the components that are willing to do those things to rescue those pieces, then we're missing some there. But so I just want to kind of speak to that real quick. Back to the opportunity. Steve, was it? And the gentleman from OSF, was it Steve as well? Mike?
Dr. Mike Cruz.
Okay. And the other gentleman's there. Our great Steve, our great. I didn't want to get any more wrong there. You're all great examples of the fact that there are opportunities out there, and there's opportunities at different levels for different comprehension rates and capacities and so forth. I think that we collectively need to just do a better job of really being more diligent at identifying what the opportunities are so we can share them with the proper people and help connect them to the resources. Perfect example being, I'm actually part of a young man's personal and professional development group called the Neighborhood Heroes. So I'd love to be able to connect all those young men. We serve 13 to 17-year-olds to kind of get them ready to make those decisions and so forth. So I'd love to be able to utilize your resources to let them know the resources are there. There are opportunities there. At the same time, I have to be 100 with you all. Okay, I'm a veteran of broadcasting here locally, and as well as I have a degree in directing and filmmaking, a bachelor's. I've applied for jobs here in Peoria at a number of different institutions and organizations. And to be frank, I haven't even gotten one call back from any of them. Okay, so what I'm saying is that there's a reality out there that we all got to be 100 about. Okay. okay? There's a real network that we have to really feed into and create a comprehensive plan for how do we administer this thing and how do we really affect change? Because we're all agents of change here. So let's get involved.
Lord Mike happens to be, if he sounds like he's on radio, he is on radio. 92.3.
So it's obvious it takes a village with so many different entities represented here. What is it that you do at It Takes a Village, and how can we help serve your efforts?
See, about an hour ago, I was going to talk about something else. Can I touch on that first and then segue to
Please
this?
do.
Because I sat here and I thought, we have the superintendent here, we have Urban League, and I'm an example of both of these. Meaning I graduated from District 150, was a teenage parent. It was a village. My mother and my family allowed me to go on to college. And from there, and even during those summer breaks, I had that job. Even in high school, I had that co-op job where, they said, you should be a secretary. And I had this bookkeeping job. And so to fast forward, I'm a doctoral candidate, working on my PhD. And I grew up here and I'm still here. And so everybody doesn't move away. And so it's not just about withdrawing, it's about making deposits. What are you putting into the community? We can complain all day long. And so my motto is, in the meantime. What do we do in the meantime? And that's where It Takes a Village came from, because we can talk about all kinds of strategies, but what is this family going to do in the meantime when they don't have anything to eat? What are they going to do when, they're filling out the applications and they're taking the classes, and I teach classes for individuals on parole and probation, and have for 15 years, but I listen to the people. And it really is about, I did that and I tried that, but they didn't give me a chance, and they get frustrated. And so that's where the mental health piece comes in. We have to build mental wealth. We have to instill hope. And so sometimes that hope may be, somebody gave me a pair of shoes today. And it's not about enabling, it's about reaching out and helping each other. For me, I'm a product of a village. And so what I'm saying is all of us, not just those of us in this community, in this room, but in this community, need to be, and I think you said earlier, selfless. Just make deposits. It doesn't have to be big. It can just be the person next to you. And then you give that person a little bit of hope. And then that person's going to spread that. And if we can do that one person at a time, I think we will start to make a difference in the meantime.
A lot of the folks that we're talking about and on behalf of this evening live within the Peoria Housing Authority. Can you give us some insights as to what types of things you're seeing and experiencing there, what types of things you hear from the residents there, and where their opportunity avenues lie?
If I may, just the first comment, there was a word used a few minutes ago, and it's quota. I mean, are we looking at a quota because we have a number, or are we looking at it because it's the right thing to do?
Right.
And it just rubs me wrong when I hear people talk about, well, I have a quota. It's not a quota, it's the right thing to do. From the PHA side, we put almost $2 million back in this community annually, in vendors and contractors. And we struggle horribly at it, of trying to get vendors and contractors to respond to solicitations we put out. There's some phenomenal people in this room that we've reached out to that are helping us put together a contractor fair to bring primarily minority vendors into this opportunity, to bring them in, sit down with them and understand what their hurdles are, where are their issues, what's preventing them from getting to the table, so that we can step back from that, take that information back and say, how do we get these contractors over that hurdle? And I don't believe it, but if you want to tell me that every contractor in the city of Peoria is working, awesome. How do we get our residents into that pool then? How do we get those contractors to come back into our residents that want to work and are looking for employment to hire them? I don't believe the first one. I don't believe that they're all working. But if they are, fine. Come to the table with us and sit down and figure out how we get our residents that want to be employed with those contractors.
Let's turn to social media. Mike, did you want to respond to that at all, or?
I use the word quota because I think it was necessary to adjust the white male construction world of 40 and 50 years ago. I don't think it's a goal today. but I think that federal legislation was a key. Now, my union, I'm very proud because we were founded in 1903, and by 1904, we had our first African-American vice president of our union. But that's not true of every construction trade. So I didn't use the word quota as something that is a goal. I think it was a necessary piece of federal legislation to crack the door.
Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah.
Let's turn to social media and remind you that you can go to hashtag WTVPAI or to @issue@WTVP.org. And let's go to one of our messages. This comes from John Brzezinski, and I'll read it real quickly. I would like to make viewers aware of what I came out of prison with, which was standard parole release issue. I was paroled on December 9th, 1994. When I was transported to the train station, all I was left with was one item each of the following: underwear, t-shirt, white dietary shirt, pair of socks, pair of black khaki pants, a pair of black synthetic leather boots, summer weight blue jacket, blue cotton web belt, and blue knit cap, and $25 with a train ticket to my destination. My question to the public, which is largely unaware of this condition: where is a newly released prisoner supposed to get a meal and housing with only $25, and what job interview can he possibly go to in that junky state-issue clothing? Most of the jobs out there are union jobs, and every one I apply to, I get turned down because the union did not want ex-cons being members of the union. Several questions raised there. Who would like to tackle that first? And Andre Griffin is in, John, he's in your boots. He's walked that place. Go ahead and tell us about, this is the Wisconsin Department of Corrections, but.
Well, John, when I was also released, I was released in that same situation. And we today at New Testament Fellowship Church, we are in the process of putting together a housing unit for men and women that will be released from prison, which will be upstairs of the church. They will actually have a place to come to live, you know, as long as they're abiding by the rules. They will have a place to live. Me, myself, I'm looking into a few houses here in Peoria that we're going to get up and going as far as recovery homes and three-quarter houses that people from prison can actually come, live, work a job, get back on their feet. There's no time limit of how long you can stay there. If you choose to stay there for 10 years, as long as you're following the guidelines, the rules, and the number one thing is don't use, and you're more than welcome to stay. But we need more people to get involved in order to actually change Peoria.
For John, repeat the name of the organization.
It's actually New Testament Fellowship Church, and then myself, like I said, it's actually Boys to Men, which we will be helping, you know, men that's coming out of prison as well. All right.
Ron Valley, real quickly, did you want to explain Helping Hand for those that have come out of prison or looking for work?
Sure. The viewer that called in or wrote in is absolutely correct, and it's happening even today in 2017, where they're being released with less than $50 in their hand, and they're being released with virtually no support system whatsoever. When I think of the young lady from the village saying, as a village, we have to work together, that is so essential that we collaborate as organizations, employers, businesses, healthcare systems, mental health systems, to give a support system for someone being released from prison. If you're released from prison, you have no hope if there is no support system whatsoever. Obtaining a college degree, obtaining a bachelor's degree in prison should have been a great thing. But if you come out with those degrees and there's no support system, it doesn't help you whatsoever. What we try to do at Helping Hand Resource Center is provide job training programs and also deal with the soft skill, conflict resolution, customer service skills, skills that teach them how to deal with their employer, how to communicate with the employer on a regular basis, how to communicate with their coworkers, how to get along. What we'd like to also add on is an internship program for ex-convicts where they go to your business and learn from you. Are you willing to take them in? Give them the opportunities. We want to also offer data entry programs where they're learning how to do data entry, which actually the average salary right now is over $32,000. We want to be able to do housing rehab, to provide training in that where it gives them a livable wage. We want to be able to provide individuals coming out of prison with a support system that is a holistic view. Not just get me a job, I'm happy, but it's about giving them a job and giving them a support system that supports their mental health, their drug and alcohol addiction, that supports their educational needs, that supports to give them the opportunity to grow in life. We don't want anyone in the South End, the North Side, up in 61605 to constantly think that their life is based around a McDonald's budget. We need to give hope to individuals and training to individuals that has the ability to say, in a year from now, after I'm released, I'm going to earn $15 to $17 an hour as an apprentice or as a data entry provider. And I'm going to ask employers to consider this. If you think you have good employees now, you wait till these trained individuals hit your doorstep. You'll see opportunity knocking on your door and an economic value come to your business. Give an ex-convict a chance, and they'll be a dedicated employee to you.
Thank you. We are fortunate to have Judge Mary McDade with us, and we've had many comments this evening about what it's like to have been in prison, the fact that there's not enough education for prisoners. Are there any insights that you might be able to give us, Judge McDade, about the judicial system as it is today, and whether or not there are any discussions or initiatives, or if there's simply not enough money to be able to provide some of this type of training, to be able to provide a better exit package so that the folks coming out will have decent clothes, a place to go, etc.?
Yeah, I don't know enough about the prison system itself to be able to answer that question as well as I would like to. I think that the emphasis has gone from rehabilitation. We no longer think in terms of rehabilitation when we're sending people off to prison.
And when criminals come before you, are you able to connect with them enough to have an understanding of how they got where they are?
In my court, which is the appellate court, we don't actually have anybody before us except the lawyers and a lot of paper. We get written briefs and oral arguments, and we don't see the people who are involved in the cases.
So on the client's behalf, are the lawyers able to provide those insights? I'm just wondering how far up the chain the information goes when somebody is going to be sent to prison.
We do get a lot of that information in the record.
Okay.
I'm not sure that we have that much opportunity to take it into account. At the appellate level, I think the trial courts can do more than we can do at that level. But I think that the prison system is basically a dead end for people. I would be interested to know whether the people who are doing outreach programs and help programs for prisoners are dealing with sex offenders, because they have a whole different set of problems than other people who've been released from prison. As long as I'm standing up here, too, if I could just make one other point.
Please.
I was on the school board here in Peoria from 1968 to 1973. And the first year that I was on the school board, we had no expulsions. And by the time I went off in 1973, we had in excess of 500. And I think that things like expulsions and suspensions and zero tolerance in the schools has left us abandoning the people who need the most hope. We do a lot for the kids who don't cause trouble, for the ones who study and do well, and we basically write off a lot of the students. I don't know what you're doing now in the school, Sharon.
It has changed.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, let's have the superintendent of Peoria Public Schools, Dr. Karat.
And Judge McDade is correct, but since then, things have changed. Actually, this year, there's a new bill called Senate Bill 100, and all the zero tolerance policies were asked to be removed. and with the exception of really gross, like weapons and those sorts of things. For example, we have a lot of abeyance programs, so even if kids are up for expulsion, they are back in school for drugs, for example, but they have to do the monthly drops. And even the young people who are expelled for multiple repeated offenses they're not thrown out on the streets. We have what we call a safe school, and so there's a safety net where they're captured. But Senate Bill 100, when kids, it makes it very difficult to even suspend. You have to prove that you have provided lots of interventions and documentation, and so it's not easy if a kid misbehaves, or even if it's foul language, for example, that you say, okay, you go home for 3 days. When I was a principal, it was 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days. That cannot occur right now. You have to have lots of interventions and documentation that you've provided opportunities to redress and improve, and lots of supports.
Let's go to Stacey English, and then we'll go to Councilwoman Denise Moore.
Thank you. I wanted to address what Judge McDade said about not being able to take these things into account. Our justice system is based on no accountability after the effect. And what's happened as we as a society have grown through time is that we are becoming more accountable. And if our rules don't allow accountability, that's when our integrity fails. So when you take a justice system that's punitive, what happens is that nobody takes a look at what the collateral damage is for the punishment. If somebody starts out fairly healthy, has a problem, goes through the punitive system and comes out unable to live a life for the rest of their life because they're so burdened with debt or they're traumatized and everything bad could happen to them. And they get out and there's no hope, and the more policies that aren't accountable because they don't take into account the damage that they do. What we have an opportunity to do here in Peoria that I see is to be accountable. We've already made great strides in that, in being self-accountable. What we can do here in Peoria is to create our own rules that are accountable, have integrity, and then we can tell the rest of the world, you need to raise your standards.
Thank you.
And we could even have our own budget, too.
And to Denise Moore.
Thank you. There were a couple items that you mentioned, but I want to go back to something that Carl Cannon mentioned. And he talked about, Wayne Cannon. I'm thinking about Carl Cannon and Elite, but Wayne Cannon is here. And you talked about, we're spending a lot of time talking about ex-offenders. And I happen to believe that there are more folks in the black community who are not ex-offenders than are. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some work to do with ex-offenders, but I don't want the viewing audience to go away thinking, oh my gosh, everybody in the black community are ex-offenders, and that's not the case. So thank you for that. And then Jesse McGowan mentioned something that is very important. There are so many resources that are available that unless you're out there talking to people, as he indicated, you don't know all these programs are available because you don't know what your neighbor is doing because we're in so many silos. Although I thank you for the compliment about myself and Eric Turner and Rita Ali becoming city council members, I will have to tell you, and I think a lot of people in this room will agree, that oftentimes it is those people who are oftentimes looked to save everybody, and they're overworked and always asked, but there are more people that are not council people that can be very impactful in the community and have influential nature in the community, so I invite them to come out. Some of the things that I think we're missing are when we talk about people coming to jobs and the policies are not often set by those people who are greeting you at the front door. There are people that are sitting on the 12th and 14th and 20th floor making the policies in the executive boardrooms that you don't see. And that's where a lot of work needs to happen. In the executive boardrooms, there are not a lot of people that look like me. a lot of some of our councils that are in this room right now, and I won't call any of them out, that have no ethnic minorities representing a whole community. And so, as Doug talked about, you grew up in a small community and everybody looked like you, so there's a certain think that happens there. So if in the corporate boardrooms everybody looks like you, that certain think is there. You don't even think that there's an issue in the minority community because you cannot relate to that unless you have somebody in the room that looks like the minority that you're talking about. I'm in too many meetings where people are talking about, well, what can we do for these black people and what can we do with these minorities? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, talk to one of them once in a while because there's a lot that can be done. And believe it or not, everything doesn't cost a lot of money. There are resources in our community that are being made available from a lot of organizations where they don't write a check, but they provide loaned executives or excess furniture and equipment. That is happening and not being acknowledged. And lastly, I just want to make this last thing. The invisible community in our community are our African-American veterans who are not getting the services they need. They're invisible. There's a lot of resources that are out there that they don't know about, and we need to try to continue to reach out to them as well. And lastly, I said the last thing. I want to give a shout out to Mary Pilley and Junior Achievement because they are teaching our young people in the schools how to have personal finance, how to be entrepreneurial. They're going to start a program that is free in the Minority Business Development Center starting in May, where individuals that are in the high school level can come in and learn about personal finance. They can take JA entrepreneurship and learn how to start their own business. And this is all at no cost. So we just need to know where the resources are.
To that issue, what Yvonne and I are going to do after this program is we're going to collect the information of all the organizations represented here this evening, and we're going to put that on the WTVP website several days after this program so that you have an easy access to some of these programs that we've talked very briefly about. Yvonne?
Yes, Sherry.
I knew if I hold it up, he was going to see me. I think the word that we all are talking about that we haven't actually said is intentionality. We have to be intentional about all this stuff that we're talking about. And I totally agree with what Wayne and Denise is saying, is that there's so many talented young people of color out there that they only know what they know. And until you get role models or you get something modeled in front of them, they won't know what to do. That's why I started Hope Renewed 12 years ago. And that youth conference, we'd have over probably a couple thousand kids have gone through that program. Many of them we've given scholarships to, and they've gone on to college. Some of them come back and even talk to some of the younger kids. And we've changed our focus this year from doing conferences to growing our own. I've talked to Dr. Crowd a little bit about it, but we have two initiatives, is to help young people get through college for the whole 4 years, up to $5,000, and then they have to commit for every year that we give them financial help to come back and either work in the school district, or as police officers, because I see that those are two businesses that I think needs to live in the community and needs to be part of the community. And so that's what we're doing on a small basis with my nonprofit. But as everybody's saying is, there's so much work to do, and I really want all of you to plug in and connect with Hope Renewed and write a check to help us to be able to give more scholarships.
Yes, did you have something else you wanted to add?
Okay.
So basically all of these issues, I think a lot of these programs, a lot of these things that individuals are doing, a lot of these things that these groups are doing is, playing defense. And you're all heroes for doing that. That is amazing. I think it would be a little remiss if we didn't talk about the way that our society is structured a little bit, because a lot of the reason why minority groups have to play defense so much is because we have a system of laws and a society that is just working against any minority that exists in this country.
How so?
The 13th Amendment, which was put together to end slavery, doesn't apply to you if you committed a crime. one of my best friends, he's not a minority, but he came out of the prison system. And I also encourage all white people to read a book called The New Jim Crow, written by Michelle Alexander. Changed my life. What I found out is that if you get out of the prison system, you can't apply for public assistance. You can't get a job. You can't apply for student loans. There's a whole wealth of business licenses that you're no longer eligible for. And thankfully, in Illinois, it doesn't necessarily apply, but you can't vote anymore. How many people can't vote because they went through the prison system? So, I mean, and not only that, I mean, there's a whole number of issues, but we also live in a society where your success is equated with how much money you have and wealth. In 2010, there was a Supreme Court decision that determined that corporations are people and money is free speech. So you have a prison system. There's a private prison system whose entire goal is to fill beds and to bring back returns on their shareholders.
Right.
So what do you think that people with a lot of money are going to do? Now, when the Obama Department of Justice decided they were going to no longer have federal prisons be any private prisons in the federal criminal justice system, you saw the stocks of these private prisons just tank. But what happened once we get Trump and little Jeffy Sessions up there in the Department of Justice? You saw these stocks go up. So what does that mean? Now, a lot of these private prisons, they're selling labor for nothing. What's slavery?
Well, if I may interrupt you.
I mean, this is a radical, we need radical change. And then one other issue, before you interrupt me, is nobody who works 40 hours a week should be making less than a livable wage. I know, everybody should have the training to get a job that they pay for. But if you work at McDonald's 40 hours a week, you should make $15 an hour. This is a no-brainer. I mean, the only reason that idea is not getting through is because there's a lot of people who stand to lose money at the top on that issue.
I think we would be remiss. Thank you very much for your comments. I think we would be remiss if we did not speak to the other side of that issue. And I'm going to call it a hallucination because I can't speak for anybody at home. But there are plenty of people who are looking for jobs, who are looking for opportunities, who didn't go to prison, who followed the path and still don't have that opportunity. What would you say to them who says, I went and got an education and I've got a degree from college and I don't have a job making that kind of money? How can you expect this person who didn't to work at McDonald's and get the same $15 an hour that I got and I have a degree and didn't go to prison?
Yeah, so those people deserve to make even more money, and that's what would happen if the minimum wage goes up. If you look into these studies, when the minimum wage goes up, the bottom 25th percentile wage earners, their wages all go up. Now, there's, diminishing returns the higher up the pay scale you go.
And who pays it?
Who pays it?
Who
Well,
pays
see,
the
our economic system, is it's an ecosystem. So when you raise the wages of the majority of people, which are low income earners, that's the majority of people. They have more money to go eat at the local restaurant. They have more money to go get their computer fixed. They have more money to go to all these local businesses who are now making more money and have enough money to hire more people and provide more benefits. And then as far as education goes, I just want to say you can look into the studies, get with me after this. Education is amazing for people who are poor, but there are diminishing returns if you're coming out of poverty. You cannot take advantage of your education until you are already out of poverty. And that's not 100% true because there are a lot of people who have had to fight against that system to get out of it. But overall, it's hard. Our social and economic mobility in this country is literally zero.
We're going to ask everybody to be concise. We only have about 20 minutes left, and let's go to Lord Mike Williams and talk. And remember, conciseness for the rest of the program if we can.
Absolutely. They just sparked me real quick, and I was going to let it go because Councilwoman Moore kind of wrapped it up pretty clearly that we're all not criminals. But the reformation of the industrialized prison reform system, the reformation of industrialized prison complex is near and dear to the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce. And it goes really, really deep. Concisely, what I think personally, and what I think a lot of my teammates and my counterparts would agree with is that it's policy. We don't fundamentally, and we're not engaged in the politics of business and the business of politics. So we have to understand, how do we change policy? How do we be involved and at the table in the conversations that are going to help truly change the narratives for our community? So I think that really go a long way to speak towards reforming that.
Yes, Shama?
I'm so glad that you guys brought up the fact that not all black people who can't get a job or whatever are not criminals, because my husband, who is from Boston, has been in Peoria for 10 years, and he had been begging me to go back, because here he could not get anything. He's a professional, he went to school. He's like, I don't get it. I did everything that I was supposed to do. And he's like, the only thing that I can get here is Taco Bell. What's up with that? He applied to OSF. He applied to every major, company here outside of fast food, and he wasn't getting anything. Most recently, April 4th, District 150, Peoria Public Schools, Peoria Public Schools hired him, so, but it took 10 years. And so there is a problem that exists in this city alone, outside of what's going on in the state, where we are not hiring black men. And we just need to admit that. For some reason, he would do good on paper, and then he would get there and think that he blazed the interview and then never hear a call back. Another thing, too, is that I'm not college educated. Okay, so I dropped out of college, but I believe that experience for a lot of African Americans is one of the best things that exists. So for me, I was able to take an internship at the Illinois Black Chamber of Commerce when I was 18 years old. I did that in the summers. And I got so heavily involved in like politics and business, and it was so fascinating to me that I was like, I'm just gonna drop out of college and do this full time. Fortunately, I had a mentor who took me all around the state. I got to meet senators and have dinner with the governor, and I was doing all of these things at 21 when my friends were doing I don't know what, but look at me now. So I think if we had more people too who were willing to say, hey, you can come into these private meetings with me and no one's gonna tell you to get out, and you can get in all the inside information, you'll get a lot more successful people too.
Thank you. You've been waiting back here very patiently. You're coming.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. No, I've been listening to everybody. This is a whole system change. It's implicit and explicit bias, institutionalized in our Constitution, in our business practices, in our educational systems. But what really resonated with me was Bernice saying, in the meantime.
Yes, ma'am.
So in the meantime, before we get these system changed, what can we do? There is economic opportunity for the undereducated, the ex-offender, the unexperienced, and that's entrepreneurship. And that has been what has sustained the African American community since we were free. So I just want to say to the public, think about entrepreneurship. If it's something that you do well, something that somebody's willing to pay you for, whether it's something using your hands, if it's giving good advice, if it's creating a product, really think about doing that as an opportunity. You can bootstrap yourself. There's a whole informal economy that's going on that you could be self-sustaining. And when you're ready to come out of that informal economy to the formal economy, there are resources to help you to build capacity. We have the Minority Business Development Center. We have the Small Business Development Center at Bradley. We have a lot of social service organizations that's willing to provide capacity assistance and business planning. You have to start somewhere. In the meantime, do for yourself.
That's good, Doctor.
Yes, sir.
So I want to introduce myself first. Arthur Haynes. I own a nonprofit called Charm Inc. It stands for Community Humanitarianism, Assistance, Revitalization, and Mentorship. Those are the 5 pillars of my organization. Those are the things that we focus on specifically in the low-income neighborhoods in my community. I'm from Bloomington, Illinois. I just want to touch on some of the topics, some of the points that I've heard here. And the one thing I heard was that they have to want it. Someone over in this area said that, and I'm a testament to that fact. I am one of the rare cases of a successfully rehabilitated ex-offender. I've been to the penitentiary. I went in, and I was at a point in my life where I'd probably be dead right now had I not went into the penitentiary. And that's the road I was going down. So going to the penitentiary pretty much saved my life, and I recognize that. I say that to put that into better context, like I said, I was headed down this road where I was probably going to be dead within the next year, and then this happened. I came home with a job. I never had a job in my life. Came home with like $15,000 saved up because I had to go through the work release program. I was able to transfer that job from AFNI here in Peoria back to the AFNI in Bloomington and continue working that job and start creating a new life for myself. So I came home in a way better situation than I was in. So it's not always a bad thing to go in there. There are opportunities in there. I took advantage of those opportunities. Not only did I come home with a job, I came home with 2 certificates for construction occupation. So I picked up a trade and I picked up clerical skills with the call center job. And this would have never happened, the path I was on when I was just out in the streets. So they have to want to change. People who go in there, it's your mentality. If you want something better for yourself, you're going to find it in there. It's opportunities in there. If you are this person who just lost in life, you're going to come out even worse. And those are just the realities of that situation. And there's a couple other topics I just wanted to touch on. The policy barriers that keep African Americans from being in these prominent employment positions. You may not even consider a criminal background when you're hiring a person. But because that question's on the application, most black people, they don't even think about filling out that application. A city job, a construction job. These are positions that we automatically in our minds say that we're not qualified for. And then that question's on the application. So something that I'm working with the mayor of my city is banning the box for city jobs. He reached out to city council, reached out to the city attorney, found out that there's no city ordinance that mandates them to consider a criminal background when hiring people. So why is it on the application? You're discouraging potential applicants. So if you're in a position, reach out to your city councilman, reach out to the city attorney, find out if there's a city ordinance that requires them to use that as a hiring criteria. If there's not, push city council to ban the box. You will get more African American applicants, more Hispanic applicants. That's something that I'm working on in my city. As far as education, there's a lot of misconceptions. I heard a few from this young gentleman right here as far as felons not being able to get financial aid. That law was changed, I think, in 2010, 2011. The only felony that prohibited you was a drug conviction. That's no longer the case. Any felon can get financial aid. I'm on the board of commissions for the Bloomington Housing Authority. About 8 months ago, the HUD changed the law where they use criminal background checks to decide whether or not you're eligible for housing. That's no longer the case. You can get public housing now with a felony. So there's a lot of misconceptions where people need to be educated. There's a lot of inclusiveness for felons in the rural, a lot more than there used to be. And I heard a lot of people say, when I grew up, and they're stuck on that when I grew up time. Me too. When I grew up, if I was 14 walking down the street, I saw adults and I wanted to curse or swear, I wouldn't because I'd probably get drugged home by that. That's not the case today. These kids are different. You cannot use what we used when we grew up to address these kids today. I say that to say, if you're in a position to do listening sessions, invite these young individuals to come into your space and just listen. I've done it, and the things that I've heard are, you would not it's like all they want is, they feel like they're hopeless. They feel like no one cares. They feel like there's no opportunity for them to be anything successful in life. That gives you a better idea.
Thank you so much, Arthur, for being involved in the Bloomington community. We have 9 minutes left. We have a few more comments to get to. One of those comes in from Corey Chirello. This is, it seems that after listening to many of the men and women in attendance tonight, there are many resources available for the young minorities in the Peoria area. However, I feel one of the biggest problems is that there is little awareness among the school systems and neighborhoods regarding how to utilize these resources or even that they exist. What can we as a community do to increase awareness so that young people understand that there are better choices and paths that can be taken? What can we physically do to help improve communication regarding this topic? Who would like to tackle that
And
question?
so if you don't know what you don't know, how do you get to know it?
Lord Mike Williams.
I would say that we all need to create a very welcoming and engaging environment for the young people.
Denise Moore.
I think we need to help our young folks understand that what my grandmother used to say to me If you don't know something, then ask. We are so afraid, our kids are so afraid to ask us a question for fear that they might get ridiculed or somebody might laugh at them. You know, I was bullied when I was a little girl, when I was going into seventh grade. Here recently, there was something that happened at Peoria High School where a girl brought a weapon, a knife to school because she was fearful for some reason or something that happened outside of school. I had a similar situation that happened to me, that a boy was bullying me when I was in the 7th grade. What my mother does not know today, and I'm almost in my 60s, that I took a pair of scissors to school because I was afraid that guy, he told me he was going to beat me up. And I was new to that community. And my mother never knew I took a pair of scissors to school. And he started trying to fight me, and I pulled out my scissors. Luckily, the community, because at that school, it was a lot of black teachers there. One of the teachers embraced me, and she knew I was one of those nerdy students because I read the dictionary for fun. And so she knew that wasn't my character, and we had a conversation about that. So bullying took place then, and I didn't know who to talk to. My mom worked 3rd shift. My dad worked 1st shift because we could not afford childcare. So somebody had to be home with the children. So I think we need to let our students know that there's an welcoming environment, inviting environment. In Manual, Dawn Jeffries has her Glow Girls, and those girls are embraced by Dawn and the things that she brings to the table, so much so that she takes them out and they do community service. And I think those are the kind of things, individuals. Dawn is just a person who thought that she wanted to give back. I said earlier, we have more people outside of the media and on council that can be role models. If more of those folks were going into the schools, I'm sure Dr. Karat would love more parents or people who maybe don't have children but want to give back, more of them into the schools. That's how the information gets out there. Dr. King?
I'll be very succinct. 2 words, mentorship and in the meantime. So we have a whole village here, and people have lots of organizations that are very helpful. But to enhance those organizations, we can act as individuals. So what I did was go to the principal and said, I want one student that I can mentor. And so I have one student that I'm working with. I've gone to her study hall. I've gone to lunch with her. I'm taking her to the ballet. And her mom is very appreciative because she's a single mom. So each one of us can mentor a student. You can mentor one person. We went out to eat, and she asked me, I didn't even think about it. I ordered hot tea, and the woman gave it to me in a styrofoam cup. And I said, well, don't you have any regular cups, porcelain? And she said, no. And I said, well, I don't want it. We went back to our table and sat down, and she said, Miss King, why didn't you want that hot tea in that cup? And so then I explained to her the styrofoam, it has chemical properties that will break down with heat. So we can be role models without even thinking about it. Right. And so I encourage all of us to do that.
Thank you. One person we haven't heard from is the CEO of the Economic Development Council, Jennifer Daly. Could you weigh in on some of these issues?
Oh, man. Thought you were getting away.
Last one, right? I first want to just thank H and for allowing me to be here and just listen to the conversation. I think it's so important. At the Greater Peoria Economic Development Council, one of the things we're trying to create is opportunity and talent and workforce for our employers. We just had a talent forecast this morning, and in the next 24 months, our major employers are going to be hiring over 9,000 people. So, when we talk about work opportunity, there's work opportunity out there, but I think all the conversations that have happened today, I think it really highlights why there's so many barriers for us to connect the people who really need the jobs and want the jobs to the jobs. And I think that when I meet with the folks who are working with our unemployed population, some of these same conversations come up, and they're training and they're working with folks, but maybe there's not a job that they know about. Maybe there isn't an employer that's willing to work with them and help them through some of those barriers. So I think one of the things that we can do at the EDC, and I hope that we will do, is make that great connection between employers and opportunities and all the folks out there that are working with people who really want those opportunities, who've decided that they're ready. that they want to do something meaningful, and that we can connect them to those opportunities. So I'm very, very excited to work with all the people in this room and connect them to all the incredible employers we really have who do want to be part of the solution. And we have those relationships with those employers and those recruiters, and I think we really can make a difference. So anyway, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to be here and hear this incredible conversation, and we'll do everything that we can at the EDC to help be that connector.
We've got just about 2 minutes left in the program. Anybody have a final burning thought to be kept succinct?
I'll be real quick. I'm with Change Peoria. We're a grassroots organization. If you want to talk about how do you get to know what you don't know, how about we get 100 people? How about we get a list of every, if we're talking about the criminal justice system, felon in the city, how about we organize 100, 200 people to go knock on every single person's door and let them know all these things? How hard can that be?
One other succinct comment? We're going to try to do this real quickly. Back to you.
Well, I heard a lot of great things tonight, but one thing we all have to take into account, who is responsible for eradicating poverty in Peoria? Who is that going to be? So it should be all of us, right? We want it done. And then the next thing, we have to be intentional in diversity in employment. I mean, be intentional at it. Really reach out, set your focus, set your gaze on being intentional and making the workforce a diverse workforce that represents our community. And then lastly, to this young man's comment about listening group, we just had one a couple of weeks ago, which I learned a whole lot from the ages of 18 to 24, which really gave a real glimpse of how they feel and what they perceive Peoria is. And one thing that came out is this: they don't see people that look like them in the workforce.
Thank you so much. We are out of time. We have people that still want to talk. We have people from email and Twitter, but you continue the conversation at home.
Absolutely. We thank you all here in the studio audience for your wonderful insights. We heard some really great things, from preparation to education to prevention and intervention. Success will be ours, I believe, if we stay on this path. Thank you all for being here.
And as we mentioned before, we're going to collect all the information and put it on the WTVP website. That's www.wtvp.org. That'll be in the next several days. We thank all of you again. And especially Yvonne Greer, thank you so much.
Thank you, H. Wade Wilson.
I watch your show. You watch mine?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Thank you so much. Good night, everybody.
Good night.